Hello, everyone. We are here today again with my friend Philip Shah. He's from Canada. And we're going to discuss today the issue related to the new Cold War that is looming in the sky between China and United States. So we all know that United States and China is now starting a trade war. They have started a trade war, and now it looks like it's moving onward and into a bigger new Cold War uh, into this new horizon of the world. So today I have with my friend and Philip Shah, and let us discuss the viewpoint that we can see from each other's angle. Let me invite Philip to say his views on these new Cold War and how do we survive and how what is going to be happening in front of us.
Well, thanks, Enamul. I know from my standpoint, we've had a lot. Being on this side of the world in North America, we hear from our American friends a lot, and to them, they define it as they're going to control the world or China's going to control the world, and it seems like there can't be a win-win situation where both countries win. It's either the United States has the biggest economy or the Chinese will have the biggest economy. And you would think that both countries would be able to win, but it seems like at least our American friends and maybe the Chinese don't tend to believe that. And so from here, it seems like there seems to be a new assertiveness from China. And even though a country like Canada, where I'm from, it doesn't really matter too much because they're a huge market for things like agricultural commodities that we produce a lot here in Canada, as well as the United States. It seems like our American friends don't see it that way, and that they see China as a real threat to their place in the world. And when I'm in Asia, and I've visited you several times, when you're in Bangladesh, you can feel China there, you can feel India there, you can feel the impact of these big economies. But that's not so apparent there. And so I don't think people in Asia, they want China to win too, in terms of one can't, like from a United States perspective, China can't be better than them or bigger than them. It's got to be one or the other. And I think that, countries in Asia want China to continue to prosper. I know there's problems, and we saw this past week with the problems they had with the troops in India, on the Indian border, on the frontier in Kashmir, and there's been other border tensions there as well. But it seems to be becoming more of an issue in 2020. It seems to become more of an issue, and the United States and China seem to be in conflict more and more.
Okay, no, I think I agree with you. There is a new twist in the whole thing. I'm not sure how it will play after the election in the United States, whether this will stay the same or not. That might be the one issue that we should look into or we should think about it. But having said that, the way it is, as it is now, I think the trouble that between China and America is happening is going to affect everyone in the region. Like, for example,
can't forget the coronavirus too. So.
Exactly, yeah. So that's true, and I think my own feeling is also there that with this there is a global divide coming up in terms of as these two big players are playing with it. So there will be an issue between India, China. Obviously, there will be again a lot of countries are going to change their attitude towards India. We being the India's closest ally, we also have to think carefully because. India and Australia has, again, if you have looked carefully, they have aligned themselves. It's a big market. China is a big market. The alternative bigger market is India. So there is this particular tension that will stay in the region. And obviously, my own feeling is that it's going to basically change the global trading arrangement that we have. And for a lot of us, for a lot of the countries, this will be a uneasy scenario because if you remember the Cold War that was there before, which is between Russia and America, that is the time when you have seen around the world, across the world, coups, counter coups happening by these two countries. And I think this kind of scenario is not very good for the democratic rights of many countries, the countries who are looking at it. Governments can play with these, and government can change the course of civil rights because of these situations. So I'm on a political front. I think I see the problem of similar scenario that we have seen before, coups, counter coups that has happened before because of the Cold War. On the trade front, I think we have to be careful because there's two a big economy. We cannot ignore this. These are the big economies, and they're also becoming big investors now.
That's right.
Given this scenario, I think the whole world has to be careful in terms of which way to go, and that's why that's what I see.
Yeah, and when you think about the investment, I mean, there's huge investments in Africa from China. But not only that, I mean, there's huge investments into Latin America, Central America, places, like Panama, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, and even Brazil, for instance. Take the amount of soybeans that the Brazilians are selling into China. Not only that, but the infrastructure that China is investing, not only in Brazil, but places like Argentina as well. So there's a lot of moving targets to this. And the investment is one thing. You briefly mentioned the coronavirus. We're all trying to avoid it. But of course, our American friends, the American president likes to blame the Chinese for maybe letting that loose on the world, and there's conspiracy theories and all the lot. So there's a lot to consider, and I guess I could have never envisioned it going into 2020, but here we are. There seems to be somewhat of a new Cold War between the United States and China.
Thank you, Phil. We just thought that we should give our viewpoints, the way we think from two different worlds, and the way we see the new Cold War. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for today.
Thank you. We'll see what happens in the future.